This is your guy EF, and this is the Forecaster coming to you live from Charlotte, North Carolina. Listen, it's almost Final Four time. I'm talking NCAA College Football Final Four. Michigan, TCU, Ohio State, and Georgia. I'm going to break it down a little bit and give you a forecast and give you an idea of what I'm thinking and seeing. Let's start with TCU just in general. Listen, I know a lot of people didn't think TCU should be in this game. They ran through the Big 12, lost the last game, lost the Big 12 finals. I get that, I understand that. But they ran through the season. They did what they were supposed to do. Had a pretty decent schedule. Lost the final game, I know, but they still showed up and had an awesome season. I know a lot of people are saying that Alabama or Tennessee should be in before them, but let's talk about that for a minute. I do like Alabama. I really do. I like them a lot. But who did they beat? Who did they defeat? Mississippi State, is that their best win? Texas, is that their best win? Ole Miss, something like that. One of those three, something like that. That's not good. That's just not good enough. So everybody's saying, okay, they didn't have a great win. But they had great losses. Well, let's talk about their great losses. They lost to LSU, who lost 4 games. That's not really a great loss to me. Not to me, maybe to others, but to me, losing to a team that's lost 4 games at the end of the season, that's not a good loss to me. And then there's Tennessee. In that game, man, when they lost to Tennessee, their defense was awful. Their defense was awful. It wasn't the consistent type of check your I's and cross your T's assignment football on defense that Alabama normally shows you, or at least they've shown you in the past. The defense didn't show up. They didn't deserve to win the game. And Tennessee, they have 2 losses. 2 games where they were blown out, in my mind. I know the Georgia game ended up being kind of close at the end, but they were thoroughly beaten in that game. And then the loss to USC. So where are Alabama's good losses? They don't really have any. They don't have any good wins, and they didn't have any good losses. As much as I like Alabama, they just didn't earn or deserve a shot to get in the show. So that leaves Tennessee. Everybody's saying, well, maybe Tennessee should be in there in front of TCU. Well, for one, they don't have their starting quarterback, so they're a different team. They still could earn or deserve a shot because it's a team sport, I get it, but it's not the same team without their quarterback, Hendon Hooker. So, and that loss to USC, that wasn't good. You can It's hard when that's like your last big vision. You seeing them play and they're getting smoked like that. It's hard to say, hey, that team deserves to be in the 4. Again, I know TCU lost their last game, but nonetheless, they worked the schedule, ran the regular season, had to beat a team twice to get the championship, couldn't quite do it. But out of those 3, I think they earned it more than Alabama and Tennessee. So TCU gets in. They play Michigan. Listen, Michigan, this is 2 years in a row that they're in the Final Four. I know years ago, it wasn't that long ago, maybe 2-3 years ago, everybody was saying Harbaugh should lose his job. Maybe he's not cut out for college football, et cetera, et cetera. But look, 2 years in a row, he's been in the big show. Last year he lost to Georgia. This year he's back. But this is big for Michigan because this is an opportunity for them to see exactly where they are as a program. This is not a game they want to lose. You don't make it to the Final Four last year and lose to the national champs, and then come back this year and lose to TCU. It's good that you're back, but now it's time to step and grow. It's time to enhance, move up the charts, get another shot at Georgia maybe, and see where you are. This is big, really big for Michigan. And here's the thing about Michigan. I call them Baby Georgia. They don't have quite the talent as Georgia yet at the moment, but they're Baby Georgia because they fundamentally, everything starts at the line and with their defense. Then their running game comes into play. And then, of course, on offense, the receivers and quarterbacks try to make plays when needed. Michigan is baby Georgia in that aspect. That's why they're able to push and bully through the Big Ten. You just think about it. When they play games, they don't blow people out right away. You don't ever see them like come out the gate 28 zip. No, they're slow grinding you, just tearing you apart inch by inch, beating you up at the line of scrimmage. And by the late second quarter, third and fourth quarter, they're punching you in the mouth. They're taking you for a long walk, taking you out into the deep ocean, and just beating you. And that's what Michigan does. If you think about it, that's what Harbaugh did at Stanford. He did that with the 49ers. His brother, that's pretty much what he likes to do with the Ravens. It's a family thing. It's a DNA thing. That's who they are. That's how they win. Now, when they play TCU, that's going to be tough because when you start sort of slow, or you start the slow grind against a team like TCU who has a lot of guts, a lot of courage, you let them stick around, they're going to come get you. You let them stick around while they're trying to pull you deep out into the ocean, they're trying to reel you back in. That's TCU. So I like the clash, but I think in the end, I think Michigan's going to be a little stronger, more experienced in this moment due to last season. And I think they'll come out in the end. But I look for that to be a closer game than most people think, simply because, again, Michigan, they're not going to just jump on you 28 zip. They're not at 24 nothing. It's a slow grind, and you let TCU hang around a little bit. That's when their confidence starts developing, and they have this thing in their mind where they feel like they can win every game. They got the Tim Tebow type quarterback who's making plays and a lot of emotional, inspirational things going on there, and in the end, he's got that team in position to win. So that's the scary part if you're a Michigan fan. You gotta be wary of that TCU magic and that those guts and glory. And then you got some receivers too that can play. So, but I still take Michigan in the end. I have Michigan in the finals. And if we go to the next game, we're looking at Ohio State and Georgia. And this is the big one. This is the one that I think we're all waiting to see and want to see. And most people think Georgia's going to win the game, and rightfully so. But I will say this. Just hear me out. If there's a type of team that is going to beat Georgia, that's not going to be the team that's trying to smash mouth them to death. You're not going to win a smash mouth. They're going to push you off the field. Georgia, they're going to push you off the field. Georgia, you're not trying to beat Georgia. No, smash mouth. It's a team that can spread you out. Think about it like this. When Alabama beat Georgia last year in the SEC title game, they did something that they didn't do most of the year. They had 3 receiver sets, maybe 4 here and there, but when they played Georgia, they had 4 receivers, sometimes 5. They spread Georgia out, and guess what? They won the game. They beat Georgia. They spread them boys out, made them boys play in space. Those guys were kind of, I won't say they're confused, but they weren't in their mode. They weren't in their comfort zone. You change one thing up on defense, that changes everything. What you're used to doing, your techniques, your reads, your cues, changes. Now we got linebackers dropping. We got corners playing off a little bit. You're dealing with Michie and Williams, and you got to come off. It's different. It's different. Ohio State has the personnel to do the same thing. But the question is, do they have the interior to hold up? See, Alabama had the interior to hold up. That's the difference. I don't know if Ohio State has that type of interior to hold up, but they definitely have the playmakers and skilled people to be a threat to Georgia's defense. And that's what I'm going to be looking for. But I think in the end, that O-line Ohio State. I'm not sure if they can. I'm not sure if they. We saw they couldn't really against Michigan. So what makes us think they can against Georgia? Right, right. But I'm still saying this is the type of setup that you need to beat Georgia. Not saying they will, but it's the type of setup that you need to beat Georgia. So having said that, Ohio State has a chance. Now, if we flip it and look at the other side of the ball, I don't know what Ohio State's going to do with Georgia's tight ends. I mean, nobody has had any success with Georgia's tight ends, either one of them. So that's a problem. Dave's going to have to figure that out. I can't figure it out for him. That's something he's going to have to do because when you're talking about tight ends, that's just like an added stressor. I mean, you're already dealing with the running backs. You're already dealing with the receivers. Stetson Bennett, bless his heart, what is he, 25 years old? First of all, Stetson Bennett is 25, 24 years old, playing against 17 and 18-year-olds, 19, 20-year-olds. I'm not knocking that. I understand it happens. That's what happens. But that's like a man playing amongst boys. No wonder he's doing great all of a sudden. I mean, he's like shining right now. I mean, he understands everything. Offense, reads, coverages. I mean, it's because he's a full-grown man. Listen, I played college basketball. And I had a good career. I did well. If I were 24 years old, still playing college basketball, I would be killing people with the intel, the knowledge, the intel, understanding how to take better care of my body, work ethic, all of that. I would have been killing people at the age of 24, playing against 18, 19, 20-year-olds in college basketball. So my point is Stetson is there. He's got it. He understands offense. He understands your defense. He understands where his players are supposed to be. He understands where your players are supposed to be. I mean, it's kind of unfair, to be honest with you, but nobody's saying it's unfair. It's within the rules, so it's within the rules. So hey. So, having said that, they got to deal with two tight ends on top of the running game. I think Mitchell is back, the receiver. So it's a lot to deal with. And then you have Stetson, Heisman Trophy candidate. I mean, he's running the show. That's a lot to deal with for Ohio State. So I'm going with Georgia in that game. I gotta also say this too. Kirby Smart. What I like about Kirby Smart is he understands exactly what the offense that he's going up against is trying to do. But the key is, and this is the beauty of Georgia, which is different from a lot of other teams, he's able to relay that information. He and his coaching staff, because I have to give them credit too, they're able to relay the information that they've learned to their players, and their players are able to understand it, comprehend it, and apply it during the game. That's a beautiful thing to see. I mean, if you just watch Georgia's defense, you can see they understand what's coming, they're prepared for it, and they know how to rally around it. I mean, sometimes, there's 11 players on the field? Sometimes Georgia looks like they have 15 defenders out there simply because they understand what's happening, and they're so quick, and they're so in tune that they run to the ball like a pack of wolves. I mean, they're on it. Everything is on their toes. They're rarely on their heels. They're aggressive. They understand it. They get it. So I have to commend Kirby and what he does, preparing that defense for what the other team is going to do. Tennessee, Hendon Hooker and those boys, listen, the stuff that Georgia showed Tennessee is stuff on defense. It's stuff that they really hadn't shown all year. If you watch the tape, you'll see this. They were doing some things that they had not done all year, that they saved for Tennessee, and that they saved for the big games. I'm sure Ohio State is going to see things that they didn't see on tape when they play Georgia in a couple of days. That's what Georgia does. But again, a lot of coaches do that. But just being able to trickle it down to your players and they're able to execute it, that's the kicker. That's the key. So, having said that, I'm going UGA over Ohio State, and I think it's going to be Georgia and Michigan in the finals. And when that happens, we'll talk about it as it comes. But keys to the game, Michigan and TCU. Michigan's going to eventually wear them down. TCU's going to keep it close. But in the end, Michigan's experience, quarterback play, is going to come through. Georgia, Ohio State, there's hope. There's hope. And you're going to see some hope maybe early on. But as that game goes, CJ, the quarterback, he's going to start seeing stuff he hadn't seen before. And the receivers, Marvin Harrison, my goodness, he's great. But he's going to make some plays just because he's great. But this is a little different. They're going to see some coverages. They're going to see some physicality. They're going to see some speed. They're going to see a little pop that Illinois and Iowa and Penn State just aren't able to give them. So I'm going Georgia, Michigan. And when that game happens, we'll be back online to talk about it. I appreciate everybody tuning in. Georgia, Michigan, I got them in the finals. We'll talk about it soon.